Alright, welcome back to another edition of the Forza Friday video series. Last week, or actually a couple weeks ago, I got a question from Sean about, what are some technical cues or technical errors that I commonly see freshmen make. So I'm going to try and put together a video here. I got my, let's see here, there it is, throwing circle, or whatever, this is actually my deadlift platform. But for today, it's going to make do for a throwing circle. And one of the things that most common errors that I see, especially with, freshmen who have never thrown the weight before, is actually just turning with the weight or the hammer. Sometimes they have a tendency, well, I'll show you in the video, but sometimes they have a tendency to come through with their right or left legs, depending on if they're right or left-handed. Kind of like they're stepping through into discus a little bit. So we're gonna go through like some learn to turn drills that you can incorporate for not only just entry level throwers or throwers that have never thrown before, but I actually would spend a week or two, depending on how my athletes came back during the season, focusing on learning the turn. And that's for just returning sophomores, juniors, seniors, All-Americans, national champions. Everybody does learn the turn for a few days when the season gets started again. So we'll put together this video and we'll see how it works for everybody. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to show in regards to the learn the turn is really just going to be basic footwork and movement, which is interesting because I can't see above my shoulders here, but hopefully you'll be able to see the more important stuff, the feet. So this is really kind of cool. I've never actually done a video like this before, so you have to bear with me. But so for your right-handed thrower, they're gonna be wearing their glove in their left hand, and they're gonna be turning this way, so towards their left here, right? So when we start teaching kids how to turn, basically it's right toe, left heel. And we just turn to 90 degrees. So if we're thinking of a circle, right, to my left, to my immediate left is 90 degrees. The garage door is 180. Over here to the right, where the furnace is 270. And then right back in front of the camera is 0. So if we're thinking of a, circle, 360 degrees. So what I like showing my kids of what we do is we just turn on our right toe and our left heel and just kind of turn to 90 degrees and then come back to 0, right, or 360, however you'd like to word it. So try and keep their knees bent a little bit, right? Kind of like I am, like in an athletic posture is what I teach my kids. And we just turn our right toe and our left heel, and we'll go to 90 degrees. So try and keep the left knee bent a little bit. Our left also as well. Another common area we see is kids posting up, or I say posting up, so their left leg is straight. And you want to have a little bit of a bend there. It's going to make it a lot easier as we're going through the whole turning motion. So what we do is like 5 or 10 times, between 5 and 10 times, is just right toe, left heel, back and forth for the kids. All right, everybody does this lined up in a row where I can see everybody, so it's kind of cool. But really, it's just right toe, left heel, right toe, left heel, right toe, left heel. Right, and then for your left-handed throwers, we're going to be turning in the opposite direction, right? They're going to be turning towards their right. So it would be, rather than right toe, left heel, we're looking at left toe, right heel, right? It's a little bit more difficult for me to do, but I probably turn better as a left-handed thrower now. I don't have any bad habits that way, right? So you want to keep the same thing, right knee bent a little bit, and left as well, kind of tucked underneath the right. So that's our intro, just turning to 90 degrees and coming back to 0. The next step is turning all the way to 180. So rather than have the kids stop at 90, what we have them do is have them turn all the way to 180. So I'll show them first as here's what 90 looks like, right? And then when we turn to 180, so our left foot's going to be facing here in this particular example, it's going to be facing the garage, where our right knee is going to be kind of tucked up behind our left a little bit. So I'll turn, and I'll show you this way going forward. So same thing, right? We're going to turn to 90. We're going to be tucked a little bit, with our right's going to be tucked kind of behind, underneath our left, right? We want upright posture. And we're going to bring our left, so our left toe is going to be facing, out towards the sector in this example, right? And then the right's still kind of tucked a little bit. My left knee is straight, or I'm sorry, it's bent. Okay, it's not posted up straight. All right, we're bent a little bit. And then we go all the way back to 0. So what it would look like is just right toe, left heel to 180 degrees. So your left is going to be bent a little bit. Your right knee is going to be tucked behind your left knee. All right, kind of like behind here. And then go back to 0. And back to 180. All right. So that's the drill, the second phase of the drill. So the first part we talked about is just right toe, left heel, turning to 90. Right, here we are going to 90. Now the next phase would be turning to 90, going to 90, and then bringing it to 180. Right, so our right knee's kind of tucked behind our left a little bit. And then this is more for drill purposes. When we actually throw, it doesn't look like this all the time, but to teach somebody how to turn, just proper mechanics, this is how we start with everybody. So that was phase 2, is turning to 180. Turn to 180. All right, now the next piece is coming around to 270, or where we pick up our right foot and we bring our foot down. Right, so this is going to be different for everybody. So I want to preface this. Maybe I should be in the video for this one. Right, so I want to preface this by, this is the way I teach my kids how to turn. Right, how basic mechanics. There's a lot of other different ways, or maybe not so much methodologies, but terminology. Right, so this is my way, or my interpretation of teaching kids how to turn for the weight and hammer. So just keep that in mind as you're watching. All right, so the next phase is going to be turning to 1 to 270. So I'm going to face in the opposite direction now, just so you'll be able to see where my right foot is going to land. So we start the drill with turning to 180. Okay, so we can see that in the video. Then as we're in this position, try and teach the kids to keep the right knee at 180 tucked behind the left still. And then as we're moving in this direction, so if I'm going to throw into the sector out here, right towards the furnace, we pick up our right and try and catch at 270, where our left is still kind of tucked behind a little bit. All right. Now the foot placement for the right is going to be different for everybody. Some people prefer, best method is to land hard, right? So you're coming down flat-footed. Some people like the toe. Some people are coming down on the toe. Some people where you're kind of it's difficult to gauge, right? But for just basic introductory first day, teach the kids to come down, try and put their right at 270, where their left knee is kind of tucked underneath their right, all right? With their toe with the heel rather, not drastically up in the air, but not flat either. Just as a start, just to kind of give the kids an idea of what it actually feels like. Right, and then from this position, I tell them to turn back to 0. So here, for the drill purposes, my right toe is kind of where my strap would be on my left shoe. So not perfect, but to teach somebody what we're trying to accomplish here, I think it helps. So we're going to turn to 180, and then catch, or bring our right foot down, 270. Right, you see my left knee is still kind of tucked underneath my right, or behind my right rather, right? And I'm back to 0. And then after they can do this 5 or 6 times, I have them try and do 2 in a row, just to see what it looks like. Right, so we'll catch here at 270, come back around, check their feet a little bit, maybe move their right foot back a little closer to their left, and then catch again, and then stand up. Right. So that's really basically the learn to turn that I've incorporated over the last, I guess 10 years or so. Like I said, there's a lot of different ways and methodologies and terminology and stuff in regards to how to teach kids how to turn, rather you know, regardless of if they're, you know, freshmen in high school, freshmen in college. My oldest son is 6 years old, and he can do 2 or 3 pretty decent turns. Right now, I'm not saying everything is good mechanically, but he understands the concept of right toe, left heel. He understands you know, bringing your right foot up and trying to put it down as close to 270 as possible. But like I said, this is for a drill, for an introductory. When you go actually watch higher level, elite level throwers, Olympians, national champions, things of that nature, everyone's going to be different. So it's going to be how, you know, what works best for the athlete. You know, ultimately the goal is to throw the farthest, right? So we don't get a lot of points, or any points rather, for how we look in the circle as far as technique goes. But obviously the better technique that we have will be able to lead to more efficient throws, better distances or farther distances for us. So with that, I'm just going to show you the series of the drills again, the progressions that we incorporate with the learn to turn before we wrap up here. So we start with just basic right toe, left heel, turning to 90 and back, turning to 90 degrees and back, and turning to 90 degrees and back. Okay. Then with the 180, right toe, left heel, so our left toe is facing out towards the sector. I'll show you from this angle, it's a lot easier. Right. So our right toe, our left toe is going to be facing out towards the sector. Right, our right is tucked behind here for phase 2 of turning to 180. And we're going to show 270. Where we kind of put all 3 pieces together. So we turn to 180 and then catch. So here, I think I caught it a little better. It feels a little bit more comfortable for me. My left heel, or my left knee rather, is tucked behind my right. I feel like I'm in pretty good posture. Like I don't feel like I'm gonna tip over. My back's pretty straight. My lower body's good here. My hips are with my shoulders, and then back to 0. So let's do that again for phase 3 of 270. All right, so I did that a little slower that time. A little better catch there. Both toes and feet are kind of in the direction, facing the direction of 270, where my right leg is bent, my left is bent, my left knee is kind of tucked under my right here. And back to 0. And back to 0. So those are our hammer progressions, learn to turn. Like I said, you know, there's going to be different methodologies. I keep saying methodology. There's going to be different terminology for everybody. But this is how we teach all of our kids to turn, or how I teach our kids to turn. The common mistake that I see, oh, that's what I missed here. Let me put this back down. So the common mistake that I see when kids are starting is with this right or left leg, depending on, you know, if they're right or left-handed. But in the 270, what I see a lot is the kids will come around and they'll swing this right leg or left leg out wide and kind of step forward like they're initiating a discus throw, right? So they'll come around, they'll be good at 180, and then for some reason this right leg or left leg, they'll come around, they'll swing it wide and come through like they're going to throw the discus. So to learn to turn, keeping the knees tight, keeping your right tucked behind your left, should alleviate that. Now I like it when we have freshmen that have never thrown before, so we don't have to, any bad technique, or not bad technique, any bad habits that they have after, like, say their freshman season, that would be my fault. But it's difficult to kind of undo 3 or 4 years of turning where they're just coming through like this, like they're gonna come through with the discus turn, if that makes sense. So focusing on the learn the turn drills, coming through at 270, coming back around, 270, back around. That should alleviate that discus leg. That's what I call it anyway, discus leg. And I was actually talking to a coach the other day about this, that I love working with freshmen, because any mistakes or any bad habits that they pick up, that's ultimately going to be my fault in the end. But anybody who comes in, especially at the high school level here in Section 5 in Rochester, they started throwing the weight a few years ago. So we see a lot of different types of technique. The weight's different in high school, so it's 20 pounds. Well, for the women, it stays the same, 20 pounds all the way through. But for the men in high school, it starts at 25 pounds. So if you have a taller, lengthier kid, long arms, or just somebody who's pretty strong, technique, oftentimes, unfortunately, a sacrifice for distance. And then these kids that throw, like, say, 65, 70 feet in high school with a boy's weight, 25 pounds, they get to college and they have a 35-pounder in their hand. Totally different experience. You're not going to be as successful, obviously, trying to throw a 35-pound weight, stepping forward like you would in the discus. You're also not going to be as successful if you try and throw a 35-pound men's weight Highland game style, which I've seen here in Rochester many times, which, well, I have other thoughts on that, but we could talk about that for another video. So hopefully this instructional learn to turn video is helpful. If anybody has any questions about anything else, please let me know. Don't hesitate to ask. This is the first time I tried doing a video like this, all one take. We're at like 15 minutes. So if you have more questions, or if you're interested in maybe greater detail rather than just kind of focusing on what the learn to turn was, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact us at Forza Athletics. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.